Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again before that makes sense for you?
The possibility is there.
And I'm definitely open to the rematch, and hopefully it'll be at 154 pounds.
It's been nearly 2 years since Terence Crawford handled Errol Spence his first career loss, but the war of words between them hasn't slowed down one bit. While Spence is hungry for redemption, Crawford seems content with his victory, leaving Spence frustrated and calling him out for avoiding a rematch. Is Crawford dodging, or is Spence just chasing a lost cause? Let's break it all down. When you have two undefeated boxing champions in the same room, both reigning at the top of their respective weight classes, tensions are bound to rise. In the case of Terence "Bud" Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., what started as a simple meeting quickly escalated into a fiery exchange of words. Their mutual confidence, combined with an unshakable belief in their own supremacy, led to a war of verbal jabs, setting the stage for what many would call one of the most highly anticipated fights in modern boxing history. The intensity of that moment, charged with competitive energy, was a glimpse of what was to come in the ring.
We go neutral. We go there. Vegas or New York. And then when I stop him, they'll say he's too small. Hey, so when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak. On my mic. And he stayed at 147. He would not stop. He would not stop. Okay. Crazy. Careful what you smoking on. Ask me, hey, ask me who the hardest been hit by. Hey, look, every person that you name, ask him what I done did to him. Ask me who the hardest been hit by. It don't matter. If you drop him and I dropped him, what that mean? They both got dropped. Ask me who the hardest.
There is only one way to determine who truly reigns supreme in the welterweight division, settling the debate inside the squared circle. Boxing fans, analysts, and promoters had speculated for years about who was the better fighter, but mere opinions and debates were no longer enough. The sport's top matchmakers decided it was time to put an end to the discussion once and for all by orchestrating a monumental clash between these two undefeated champions. The build-up to the fight was nothing short of electric. From the press conferences to their face-offs, the rivalry between Crawford and Spence became more personal with every passing moment. The tension reached a boiling point when Crawford found himself engaged in a heated back and forth, not just with Spence but also with members of his opponent's family, who were vocal from the audience. The verbal exchanges became so intense that it added another layer of drama to an already thrilling spectacle.
Social media, my ass. Bro, listen, just like you talking, just like you doing all that talking, bro, it can turn deadly real quick, but on both sides. So why not support? Listen. Why not support your fighter? Support your fighter.
Finally, on July 29, 2023, after years of anticipation and months of intense buildup, Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford stepped into the ring at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for what would become a defining moment in boxing history. The stakes were monumental. Crawford walked in as the WBO welterweight champion, while Spence put his three prestigious belts on the line: the WBA, WBC, and IBF welterweight titles. It was more than just a fight, it was a battle for undisputed greatness. From the opening bell, Crawford displayed his superior timing, footwork, and counterpunching, gradually dismantling Spence's game plan. Spence, known for his relentless pressure and volume punching, attempted to impose his will, but Crawford's precision and defensive mastery left him struggling to find an answer. With each passing round, the punishment accumulated, and Spence's once unshakable durability began to crack. The fight saw multiple knockdowns, with Crawford continuously landing sharp, punishing blows that drained Spence's resilience. By the 9th round, the damage had taken its toll. Spence, battered and unable to mount a meaningful offense, found himself in survival mode. Recognizing the inevitable, the referee stepped in and waved off the fight, sealing Crawford's dominance in emphatic fashion. With that victory, Crawford cemented his legacy as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of his generation, becoming the first undisputed welterweight champion of the four-belt era.
And Crawford has Spence hurt again. All right, hope that wobbles him. Spence might be going down again, and this one is over.
Following his dominant victory, Terence Crawford reflected on the fight, analyzing every moment of his masterclass performance. One of the things that stood out to him the most was Spence's incredible durability. Crawford admitted that he was genuinely surprised at how much punishment his opponent could endure before the fight was finally stopped. However, in his opinion, the bout should have been halted even earlier, specifically in the 7th round, when it became clear that Spence was absorbing unnecessary damage. Watching back the footage, Crawford believed that Spence's corner should have stepped in to protect their fighter from further harm.
You know, he was keep getting up. Like he like, man, I'm not giving up. I don't care what you do. I'm gonna keep getting up and I'm gonna keep fighting. So, you know, yeah, he did what he had to do to last the time that he lasted.
You think the ref should have stopped it?
Yes.
The ref did stop it.
Right, yeah.
But
No,
I think,
but you think he should have stopped it at that time? Because even when he stopped it, Errol was, put his hands up like, I'm still going. Do you think that was the time to stop the fight?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that his corner should have stepped in the 7th round. You know, I feel as if, they believed in Errol, but at the same time, they should.
Unfortunately for Errol Spence Jr., that fateful night on July 29, 2023 marked a turning point in his career. Up until his clash with Crawford, Spence had been an unstoppable force, boasting a pristine 28-0 record and reigning supreme as one of boxing's most dominant champions. He held 3 world titles and was widely regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. But Crawford's decisive victory changed everything. Since suffering his first professional loss, Spence has not stepped back into the ring, leaving fans wondering about his next move and whether he will return to reclaim his former glory. In the aftermath of the defeat, a visibly shaken and disappointed Spence was asked if he would accept an immediate rematch at welterweight. While he acknowledged that a rematch was something he was open to, his response lacked the enthusiasm and conviction one would expect from a fighter eager to avenge a loss. Instead, Spence made it clear that if a second fight were to happen, he would prefer for it to take place at 154 pounds rather than at welterweight, suggesting that making the 147-pound limit may have taken a toll on his performance.
Are you willing to do this rematch back at welterweight?
It's something I got to talk to my management about, but hopefully it's at 154.
Despite the heartbreak of defeat, Spence showed humility and sportsmanship in his post-fight interviews. He refused to use weight cutting as an excuse, admitting that while making the welterweight limit was difficult, it was not the reason for his loss. Instead, he gave credit where it was due, acknowledging that Terence Crawford was simply the better fighter that night. His honesty and class in handling the loss earned him the respect of many within the boxing community.
Feel at ease with the weight cut?
I mean, it's always difficult, but, like I said, I don't make any excuses. The better man won tonight.
When Crawford was asked about the possibility of a rematch, he surprisingly agreed with Spence on one key point. He also found it difficult to make 147 pounds. Given this, Crawford stated that if a rematch were to happen, he had no issue with it taking place at 154 pounds, making it clear that both fighters would be more comfortable at a higher weight class. At that moment, it seemed like fans were on the verge of witnessing a highly anticipated second showdown, this time in the super welterweight division.
Are you interested in moving up in weight for the rematch, or does it have to be at 47?
It definitely don't have to be at 47. Like I said, I'm in a hurt business. 47 was kind of hard for me too. I was already talking about moving up in weight and challenging Charlo, so 54 wouldn't be outreach of anything.
But then everything changed. Instead of granting Spence an immediate rematch, Crawford decided to shift his focus toward a much bigger opportunity, one that would elevate his legacy even further. Rather than running it back with Spence, Crawford set his sights on a massive showdown with the biggest star in boxing, Canelo Alvarez. The prospect of moving up in weight to challenge the undisputed super middleweight champion was a far more lucrative and legacy-defining option, and Crawford wasted no time pursuing it. At first, Spence appeared to be at peace with his decision. He acknowledged that a rematch with Crawford could still happen in the future, but in the meantime, he expressed his support for Bud in his potential fight against Canelo. Spence understood that true boxing greats often challenge themselves by moving up in weight classes, and he recognized that Crawford was seizing an opportunity to cement his name in the history books.
I mean, it could happen. I mean, why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great. You know, so you know what I'm saying, I'm with it. So you know, I'll be going for Bud. You know, if he fight Canelo.
But then Crawford took a direct shot at Spence's legacy, claiming that his former opponent would never be inducted into the Hall of Fame. With this remark, Bud was essentially dismissing Spence's career achievements and making it clear that in his eyes, a rematch was not worth his time. By downplaying Spence's accomplishments, Crawford appeared to shut the door on the possibility of running it back, further widening the divide between the two fighters.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how? He fought in one division. He had the WBC,
he didn't fight
WBA.
He wasn't undisputed. He
no,
wasn't undisputed.
He wasn't. No, what I'm saying is they already called him a weight bully. He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. But like, once it got to the point where I moved up in weight and I'm in the same weight as Spence, it's just like, oh man, you ain't fighting nobody. You this, you that, you this, you that. So now they trying to blemish my accomplishment.
Crawford didn't stop there. He doubled down on his stance, emphasizing the stark difference between their respective careers. He confidently stated that he could retire immediately and still be recognized as a Hall of Famer, whereas Spence, in his view, was still struggling to achieve what he had already accomplished. Crawford's words sent a clear message. In his mind, he had already cemented his place in boxing history, while Spence was still chasing greatness. This declaration further fueled the ongoing debate among fans about their legacies and where each fighter stands in the sport's history.
Just to boost him up. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do that. Because I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got.
Unsurprisingly, Spence did not take Crawford's comments lightly. The former champion was visibly irritated by the remarks and wasted no time firing back. Feeling disrespected, Spence unleashed his frustration, making it clear that he wasn't going to let Bud discredit his name without a response. This verbal exchange was just another chapter in their long-standing rivalry, proving that despite the fight being over, the animosity between them was far from settled.
Once I get in there, I'm gonna try to kill him, of course. But it's just a mutual respect. It's like they were.
Of course, Spence had already made his intentions known long before these latest verbal jabs. Even before their first fight, he had stated that once he got Crawford back in the ring, he wouldn't just aim to win. He would come with bad intentions. Now, with their rivalry reigniting through trash talk and public statements, the question remains: will this war of words eventually lead to a rematch, or is this just another case of unfinished business that will never be resolved inside the ring? But what about you, fight fans? Who do you think would win in a potential rematch? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.